My name is Wayne Williams, and this is my first ever attempt to do a blog. I've been wanting to do this blog for many years, and procrastination and not feeling that it was the right time, or not really feeling motivated, but I am now motivated. I'm definitely not getting any younger. The name of my YouTube channel is called Love Left Me Forever, and that's exactly what happened after I got involved with the New Age movement, specifically A Course in Miracles. I've been very involved in the Course in Miracles. It all started back in the 80s with Unity Church, which I'll talk about at other times. I have a very strong background in Abraham Hicks and Jerry and Esther Hicks, both whom I have met. I knew a great deal about the Course's self-proclaimed leading expert, Ken Wapnick, who I had met 3 times. I am here to tell you that the Course in Miracles destroyed my life, and I hope to do several videos about the Course and other teachings, but I'm just going to start with this one. I have never done speaking like this before. I'm really more a musician, guitar player, and singer. So, in 1986, I was 28 years old. I had already been hospitalized 3 times in mental hospital in Lakeland, Florida. 2 times I was committed for being suicidal. The police came and got me, handcuffed me, a very traumatic event. And 1 time I went in voluntarily. So I say this to let you know that I knew what pain and suffering was, and I was looking for an answer to my loneliness and hurt. And in 1986, in June, I had gotten a newsletter from a church over in St. Petersburg, Florida. It was in Pinellas County, Florida. The name of the church was the Temple of the Living God. And there was a teacher there on the front cover named Henry Lorea. And this guy was teaching a class called A Course in Miracles. I hadn't heard the Course in Miracles mentioned for the past couple of years, mainly at Unity Church. I didn't know a thing about it. Nobody ever elaborated. They just would talk about it. So I had no idea that it was a channeled document. I had no idea that it was from Jesus Christ, allegedly. And I'm not here to dispute that one way or another. It doesn't matter. So I decided that this course was something I wanted to check out. I was also getting ready to fly to Coos Bay, Oregon to spend 7 days at Ken Keyes College. Ken Keyes was a man who wrote a book called The Handbook to Higher Consciousness. He also wrote a book called The 100th Monkey. And I did end up going out there, but the class got delayed, and that's how I ended up deciding to go take this 8-week class on A Course in Miracles. And I was going to drive 55 miles from Lakeland, Florida to St. Pete to do this. On the first night that I got there, I met this teacher named Henry Lorea. He's about 44 years old. He was a Mexican American, and he was a homosexual male. I'm not saying that with any judgment. I'm just stating a fact. It was pretty apparent, and of course he told me later that he was. And Henry was a very unique teacher, and he didn't even really talk about the Course in Miracles. He had the books on the table. But Henry's captivated me because he started telling me things that no other psychologist, no other teacher, anybody had ever told me. All I was searching for at this time in my life was a relationship with a woman. I wanted a girlfriend more than anything in the world. And when I would go and try to get that, I would get rejected. And when I would try to share with a psychologist or a counselor, they'd tell me, "Oh, you're not ready. You got to work on yourself. You're too needy. You're too desperate." And the Unity Church, the people even worse. As long as you need it, you can't have it. So my self-esteem was as low as it could be at the time, and it's even lower now. But the point is, that was my goal in life. I wanted love. I wanted intimacy. I wanted sexuality. So I shared this with Henry, and then I kind of backed up. I'm getting ready for the normal dose of judgment and attack and criticism. And Henry had this big smile on his face, and he tells me, "Well, you deserve it, and you can have it." He says, "When do you want it?" I said, "If I can get it in 6 months, I'd be happy." He said, "I'm not talking about 6 months." He says, "I'll bet you $100. And he reached in his pocket. He happened to have a $100 bill. So I bet you $100 that within 6 weeks of this class, or 8 weeks of the class, you'll have a girlfriend. And I betted him back and shook his hand that I wouldn't. Now, I wanted to lose that bet. Okay? I betted him that I wouldn't meet anybody, but I wanted to lose it. And I did lose. And so shortly after meeting Henry, I bought the Course in Miracles books. They were $40 at the time. And I took them home and started reading the 50 Miracle Principles. And all the lights came on. Everything seemed so wonderful. And the message was telling me that there's nothing I have to do to be loved. All I have to do is just recognize it. I don't have to fix anything. I don't have to change anything. I just have to recognize that I'm loved. And the combination of Henry just hours earlier telling me that I will have love, and I can be loved by another person, and I can have a girlfriend, I can have my needs met. The combination of these two things occurring lifted me into a state of consciousness I'd never been. And I felt so happy and joyful, and I felt like I could do anything. And I knew I was going to meet somebody. I don't know who it was going to be. I knew it was going to happen soon. So actually, this is on a Wednesday. So 2 days later, I go to work, and a young woman my age, who's about 30, 31, maybe a little bit older, happened to be working where I worked. I was working at a Lowe's store in Lakeland, Florida, as a salesman. And she had been there about a month, and I had not paid attention to her. She hadn't even looked at me or even smiled. She was cute. She comes up to me on a Friday. This is 2 days after I had met Henry, and she's just all over me, asking me if I have a girlfriend, and she wants to go back to my apartment and talk, and she was just ready. Instant relationship. There I have an instant relationship right in my hands. And women had not shown me the time of day my entire life, basically. So, the young girl, her name was Renee, came over to my house, and I literally had to stop her from taking her clothes off. I mean, she was just ready for sex immediately. Okay? I postponed it for a month. I was totally blown away by the experience of all of a sudden just being irresistible to this person. And it wasn't just her. There was another woman that showed up, and then there was another woman. So I had like 3 or 4 different women I could choose from. Before I had nothing. That's what the Course initially did for me. It lifted me into a state of love and awareness, of happiness, and I became like a magnet. And of course I thought it was permanent. Because I had been working hard for 4 years, studying metaphysics and meditating and going to Unity Church and reading every book I could on psychology. I had become an expert, and I was going to counseling. So I said, this is my payoff. I've earned this. So it all looked great. And then I did go to Coos Bay, Oregon, and I spent a week out there, and I didn't even really enjoy it because the Course in Miracles was so far ahead. It was so far advanced from what Ken Keyes taught. And so I just enjoyed the experience of being out there with strangers. And I didn't really learn a lot about it. But the point is, I was happy. The point is, I felt like I have a girlfriend. I did have a girlfriend. I get back to Florida, and I start seeing signs immediately that the woman is not interested. Renee is starting to lose interest. So I started talking to Henry about that. He said, "Oh, don't worry about it. If she goes, you'll find somebody else." So this relationship that I had worked for like 4 years to have was gone in 2.5 months. She just said we had nothing in common anymore. The Course had changed me, and I had taken her to a couple of Henry's classes, and she just said she didn't understand all this stuff, and it changed me to where I was no longer a match to her. And then all the other women just vanished. So, when I was in Oregon in June of 1986, I met a guy named Tom. He was 53 years old, and he was from Florida, from Tampa, which is about 35 miles from where I lived in Lakeland. And I could tell Tom was suicidal. Tom had a lot of money. Tom was a successful real estate person. He was very, very unhappy. And he had come out here to the Ken Keyes College in hopes getting help. And he ended up leaving early. He couldn't deal with the intimacy of the group, the hugging, the sleeping together in the bunks, the close proximity. I mean, it was a really hands-on type community in a non-sexual way. But I did learn about Tom, and I could tell Tom had some serious issues because I had been suicidal most of my, the last 4 years prior to the course. So I told Tom, I said, when you get back to Tampa, I want you to go over to St. Petersburg and look up this church called the Temple of the Living God, and I want you to find Henry Lorea, and I want you to get involved with the Course in Miracles, and you'll be okay. And he said, Course in Miracles? I've never heard that, Wayne. I said, well, I've only known about it about a month myself. So Tom left, and he flew back to Tampa. So 6 months later, after my girlfriend's gone, and then I was back in Lakeland, and one night I drove over to St. Petersburg to attend another one of Henry's classes on the Course in Miracles. This is about my third class. I mean, I still had hope that things were going to turn around and I'd get another girlfriend and be happy again. I mean, I hadn't completely given up. So I get to the Temple of the Living God, and lo and behold, I look up and there's Tom. Tom, 3,000 miles and 5 months later, me and Tom have rendezvoused again. And Tom is now... he finally made the decision to go to this church. And I called out to him and I said, Tom, remember me? Oh, you're the boyfriend of the young man from Coos Bay. I said, yeah. And he said, well, you're the reason I'm here. So I felt overjoyed that I had touched Tom's life and brought him into the Course in Miracles. I took him in and introduced him to Henry. And I said, Henry, this is the guy I told you about I met when I was out in Oregon. Oh, and so I was happy, and I said, Tom's going to be fine now. Henry's going to help him like he helped me. So, time moves forward. In December of 1986, this is 6 months after I was involved with the Course in Miracles, I came over to see Henry one night for counseling, and Henry said that his lover, he had a gay man lover named Kimo, who he said he's dead. I said, dead? He drank himself into an alcoholic coma in a fit of jealousy and died. Kimo had gotten jealous because Henry was having people come over to the house like me who were not, we were not a threat to Kimo. I had no interest in Henry as a sex partner because I'm heterosexual. But the point is, this man got jealous of Henry and he retaliates by killing himself through alcohol. And I got angry about it and I said, don't you think that maybe you shouldn't be teaching the Course in Miracles, or maybe you shouldn't be doing this kind of work? If you're living in a sick relationship like that? I mean, I was blunt. I mean, I was brutal to him. I said, you're out here teaching us so we can have love and relationships, and yet you're in this sick relationship? And Henry got so mad at me, ran me off. Don't come back. Don't come back. Well, by then I was addicted. I was addicted to Henry and the quick fix and the way he could build me up, make me think I could have anything I wanted, a girlfriend, money. I wasn't even after money. I still wanted a girlfriend, and I wanted to express my sexuality. So make a long story short, I called Henry back up, apologized. He said, okay, come on back. So now it's February 2017. I asked about Tom a few times. Tom's the guy, the suicidal guy I met in Oregon. He said, oh, he's doing great. He's doing fine. So I come over to Henry's house one day in the afternoon, and Henry was dressed up in a three-piece suit with a vest. Henry always wore shorts, flip-flops, and a tank top. We lived in Florida, so it was always hot and humid. Well, this is February, so February's still pretty warm. And I said, what's going on? He said, I've been to a funeral. I said, a funeral? And he said that Tom put a gun in his mouth 2 days ago and blew his brains out. I said, you're counseling this man for 3 months and you don't have any sign that this man's getting ready to kill himself? Once again, I was totally brutal with this guy. I mean, here's a man that I thought was a salvation for Tom, and Tom is dead. Tom has committed suicide. The very thing that I was afraid was going to happen has happened. So I was angry. I was angry at this Course in Miracles. The Course talks about how there's no order in the difficulty of miracles. One's not harder to achieve than the other. Well, let me assure you, The Course in Miracles cannot heal squat. It can't heal squat, much less heal somebody that's suicidal. So, me and Henry didn't speak again for about a month until I had to beg him back because I was addicted to Henry. Okay? So, to make a long story short, I never had another girlfriend. 35 years went by. But this was now 1987. And by this time, the course was not working anymore. And I saw Henry, and he wasn't working anymore. And then I saw other people that had been attracted to Henry that came into our lives in the course groups. Their lives weren't working. They were in addiction and drugs. Okay? Nothing was working. So, I'm trying to decide what to do. Where do I go? There's no, where do I go from here? So, to answer your question, the Course in Miracles, what is it? What it is a channeled document that was channeled in the 60s over a 7-year period by Jesus Christ. Okay? Jesus communicated the Course in Miracles through a woman named Dr. Helen Schucman. She was a psychologist at the University of Columbia in New York City. And she would hear this voice dictating the chapter or the words, and over 7 years she would write it down in shorthand notes. And then she would share these notes with her colleague, a man named Bill Thetford, and they would type it all up, or he would type it up and put it in manuscripts. And then it was eventually published into a book. I think it was around 74, 75 when it actually came out. So that's the official version, a channeled document. So let me give you the real definition of what A Course in Miracles is. A Course in Miracles is a community of hypocrites and liars. It is a group of perhaps now millions of people who go around teaching that nothing real can be threatened and nothing unreal exists. It is an attack community. The Course in Miracles consists of people who attack each other, who attack each other's viewpoints, who attack anyone who criticizes the Course in Miracles or their involvement in it. That is the true definition of A Course in Miracles. It is a hate-filled, hypocritical community that goes around talking about love and light and overlooking error and forgiveness of your brother, yet they don't even preach it. They don't even live it. They can't even apply healing to their own life. Their relationships suck, if they even have any relationships. I'm about to wind this up because this is just an introductory video. The Course in Miracles makes promises that it does not keep. One of the big promises the Course says it's the salvation for your relationship. If you try to fix your relationship your way, you're going to destroy it. I guarantee you, studying the Course in Miracles is not going to save your relationship. You're probably going to end up divorced. It will destroy, because the Course in Miracles changes your vibration, if you want to call it. It changes your mindset to where you're no longer a match to the people in your world. After I got involved with the Course in Miracles, to be around people at work was boring. I had nothing in common with them. I couldn't connect with anybody. I had no friends. Any friends I had were gone. Love left me forever. When I got involved with the Course in Miracles, within 6 months, or a little bit less than that, love left me forever. This will be continued.